It's been a busy day in Rider Nation. The 8-1 Riders are getting ready to take on the Calgary Stampeders on Saturday. Day 2 of practice at Mosaic Stadium, and a new face was on the field. After a lot of talk about the kicking game, Brett Lothra's struggles this season, they brought in another leg. His name is Campbell Fair. And if that sounds familiar, it's because he was on the Riders practice roster back in 2023. He was originally drafted by the Stamps. He was with the Elks for training camp this year. We'll have more on that a little later in the show. Lot to talk about. You would think a first-place football team, it's all roses. Everything is through green-tinted glasses. But no, there's stuff going on. It's the Wednesday edition of the Sports Cage. It's Maz in for Barney today, and for the next 3 hours, we are talking sports right here on 620 CKRM. If you're listening on our CKRM app, hey, thank you. If you don't have that yet as something on your iPhone or Android, any of those stores, you can grab that for free. We're also streaming our show on the social channels. You can watch us on X or on YouTube. Just go to sportscage.com. SportsCage is for Regina Motor Products. The RMP summer offer is on until the end of the month. You can get a $25 SOE gift card with the purchase of a vehicle health check and oil change. You can visit RMP today. And the Prairieland Rentals text line is always open at 306-936-6262, so you can be part of the show. Guest number one, it's going to be Wade Klippenstein, Director of Hockey Operations from Notre Dame, will join us at around 5:05. Voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, will join us at around 4:05. We'll get the latest from Riderville, find out what's going to go on. We're going to hear from quarterback Trevor Harris on the show today and Tommy Neild. And let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline and say hi to our first guest. Now listen to this. An impressive resume. He played for the Calgary Stampeders from 1994 until 2007. There is not career longevity like that anymore. He was a 6-time All-Star, winning 2 Grey Cups in 1998 and 2001. And on January 23rd of 2024, he was named president of the Calgary Stampeders. We say hi and welcome to Jay McNeil. Jay, welcome to the Sports Cage. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We appreciate you making some time for us. Let's go back to when you were named president of the Calgary Stampeders, January 23rd, 2024. What was one of the most important things on your list to try and accomplish or get done when you took over the top job of the team?
Oh man, that was we had a long list. There's no doubt about it. Obviously our struggles on the field, 23, 24, pretty challenging. And our organization and our fans, much like Rider Nation, have high expectations and expect a winning competitive team. And so that was, sort of front and foremost. But also, we were having some challenges off the field as well. We were at one point, for a long time, leading the league in attendance, and since the pandemic, we've been struggling, and so helping the Calgary Stampeders become relevant in Calgary again, was the second piece to that. So two very important and fundamental pieces to our success as an organization.
Jay, that's not an easy job, and I've always appreciated, since you've had this role, your honesty, because in Calgary, much like in Edmonton, they're NHL cities. The Flames and the Oilers dominate. At one time, you couldn't get a seat to a Stamps or an Eskimo game. I know they're called the Elks now. That's like climbing Mount Rushmore in a pair of flip-flops. That's no small task. No, you're right. Like it's, part of it, it's an interesting, we had the perfect storm here in Calgary. And I think, Edmonton had a little bit, something very similar. You think about, in 2015, we had over 21,000 season ticket holders. Into this year, we've got 13,000. So we've seen a 45% erosion of our season ticket base. And that started when the price of oil declined in 2014, and corporations and people had to make some pretty hard decisions about their spending, and we were impacted by that. And then we know what the pandemic did. But throughout that time, we were leading the league in attendance, and so there really wasn't, an impetus to change the way we do things.
And then, over time, especially that got accelerated since the pandemic, the way fans consume sports, the way they purchase tickets, they move to a last minute, it's changed, the sports and entertainment business. And we were slow to change behind, and so now we're catching up to that. So, yeah, a monumental task for sure.
Now, Jay, to say that, you weren't happy with some of the product and the results on the field, you had one of the most aggressive off-season roster makeovers I can remember in the CFL. A lot of new faces, our Calgary Stampeders this year. Is that Dickinson coming to you saying, hey, is this a collaborative thing? And because that's gutsy. It looks good now, but that doesn't always pay off when you do wholesale changes like that.
No, you're right. And it was a collective. Maybe I'll start, a little bit before that. Whether we're on the business side of things or on the football side of things, one of the challenges I brought to our organization was, we need to look at doing things differently. We need to look at selling tickets differently. We have to look at marketing ourselves differently, and we also have to look at what we're doing on the football field and what can we do differently from a player recruitment standpoint, from free agency, from all those sorts of things. And we had to evaluate everything that we had, and then, where we needed to go and build from there. And so, throughout the second half of last season, we knew we were going to have to make changes at the end of the year. And so, we evaluated everything, decided, okay, these are the pieces that we need, and this is what we need to go and get. We were very specific as to players, as to positions, and where we thought we were, where we could show some improvement. And then, Dave was a part of that process, and then him and his personnel team, and then, they did a great job on executing on that. And I think one of the highlights, we wanted to bring in good football players, obviously, but we also wanted to bring in good people and people that love the game of football. And they've done a tremendous job of identifying those players, going to getting them. And then the players need a lot of credit as well, because they've come in, not necessarily a group of players that knew each other. And we had a new, defensive coaching staff, and that entire locker room came together really quickly and bought into what we were trying to accomplish as an organization. And the players have really, done the rest since then. They've been so great, and they've been fun to watch.
We're chatting with Jay McNeil. He's the president of the Calgary Stampeders on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Riders and Stamps on Saturday. We'll get to that in just a bit. Jay, did you feel confident that you could make over this football team? Because you were part of some of, I would call CFL royalty. You were around the Wally Buonos and the John Hufnagels. You guys were the best of the best for a really long time, and you set the bar in the CFL. Is that what you're trying to do again with what you and Dickinson are trying to do now?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, since we've been awarded the Grey Cup to host the Grey Cup in 2026, we get a lot of questions about, hey, are you guys trying to build a team to win the Grey Cup in 26? And we're not even talking about 26. We want to win the Grey Cup in 2025, and we'll worry about next year when the time is right for that. And so, it's about expectations. And our expectation as an organization is to deliver championships on and off the field. And, unfortunately, had some great mentors and some great examples of how to do that in Wally and in Huff. And you look at a lot of, the ex-players that have been here and had a lot of success. And so, really trying to get back to that same expectation of winning on and off the field.
One of the ideas that we tip our hats to, because we're actually have stolen your idea from the Stampede Bowl. We came up with the Pilsner Cup. We're trying to put it together. It's kind of like our fake trophy game. You can kind of guess what the trophy is going to look like. We've got some fake things going in the background. But the Stampede Bowl, when I first heard about this, I'm like, all right, this sounds like a lot of fun. And then you had you make up the crazy trophy. Then you bring in Brett Michaels from Poison to do halftime and all of that. Where did that idea come from? Because, hey, hats off. From 10,000 feet watching as a fan, I really enjoyed it.
Wow, thank you very much. Well, I guess where it started is, so traditionally, for 80 years, we have not played during Stampede. And since I've been around, came back at the end of 2022, and in 2023, we booked off, the 2 weekends of Stampede. And so we ended up hosting a home game the weekend following Stampede. And so in 2023, we hosted Ottawa. Traditionally, a family day is a big game for us from a ticket sales perspective. And so we said, let's after Stampede, let's have the family day game. And we ended up selling about 20,000 tickets, and we had 15,000 people attend the game. So, okay, let's do things a little differently in 2024. And so we went to the league and we said, hey, we need to have a Western Division opponent to help try to sell some tickets for that game, to give us a fighting chance. And so they ended up scheduling BC. So we brought back the Wall of Fame for the first time in 10 years. And we put Wally Bono up on our Wall of Fame. Obviously the winningest coach in CFL history, legend. Just a huge name in our league. And we sold 20,000 tickets, and we had 14,000 people attend the game. And so, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. So we said, what about playing a game during the Stampede? And so we approached the Stampede, and to make sure that we weren't stepping on their toes, and said, hey, this is what we would like to do. Could you partner with us on this? And they got behind us immediately and said, we feel this is very complementary to each other. And it just grew from there. We went to the league. The league gave us that game. And then, as we dreamed about what this could look like, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And we took some inspiration to what BC's doing with concerts early in their season. And how do we make Labor Day is a big game for us, Saskatchewan's a big game for us, and we wanted to create a third big game. And it was there was some skepticism. There was a lot of people excited about it, and in the end, we were very pleased with our first year. And from a ticket sales perspective, more importantly from a fan engagement perspective in Calgary, but across the country and even into the U.S. as well. And so we feel we accomplished our goals from that fan engagement perspective for the Stampeders and for the CFL. And excited about, we're already talking strategizing on what we do next year to make it even bigger. So it's exciting.
Well, when I first heard of the idea, I thought this is kind of like the movie Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell and the Flint Tropics, where they're going to do the Flint Mega Bowl. There's going to be a giant trophy, and we just say Mega Bowl, Mega Bowl over and over again, and then people buy into it. I couldn't believe how invested Brett Michaels was. I follow him on social media, and he's doing Instagram reels, and he's sending out tweets, and he's putting out Facebook posts, and then you see him a couple days before outside his private jet, and then the morning of, he's flying to Calgary, and then he's tossing a football at sound check. That's got to help, because normally entertainers, you know this, Jay, you cut a check, here's our rider, what we need, leave us alone, we'll do what you pay us for, and we're out of here. He just seems like the best kind of guy.
I'll tell you what, we spoke to him on the phone in March. This was we'd already signed, like he was signed up to come and play, and we built a little script about how we were going to, what we were trying to accomplish, and how he could play a role in that, and what we were hoping that how he might get behind this, and so we built this script up, and he came on the phone and he said, guys, I know exactly what you're trying to do. I'm not like any other artist. I'm going to come there and I'm going to make this big and support you guys and help you get there. And we're going to have a great time. And I'll tell you what, he exceeded expectations. Him and his band, they were tremendous from everything that you described. He was signing autographs. He was anybody that asked for a picture. He was there to do that. And he was, like I said, exceeded expectations by a mile. And just a down-to-earth good person, and we were really happy. Like, it couldn't have been any better.
Jay McNeil, president of the Calgary Stampeders, joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline here on the Sports Cage. Well, I'm sure you had it circled on your calendar for a long time. Whenever Rider Nation comes to town, it's usually always a fun night. But an 8-1 Rider team up against a 6-3 Stampeder team, two best teams in the league, will go at it on Saturday. As an ex-player, do you kind of get that twinge a little as you get closer to game day, remembering like big showdowns like this and what that kind of meant going on in your world?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I do. I still get an adrenaline rush on every game day. This is a big game, obviously, for both teams. But it's also, from a business perspective, it's a big one for us as well. We always ask the CFL, please schedule the Riders on a Saturday in the summer.
Yes.
Like that,
yes.
You're doing us a big favor. And so, they did. We're 5 o'clock. We couldn't ask for a better kickoff time. And fans are responded. We crossed 25,000 tickets sold today, and we're still selling strong. So we're excited about that. But, having a winning team and having two winning teams battling for the first place, that certainly creates the hype. And we all know there are a significant amount of Rider fans living here in Calgary. So there's a lot of energy around the city about this game, and I'm excited for it. It's, like I said, just hearing you describe it, I could feel my adrenaline start to rush. And so it's exciting. It's going to be a ton of fun. The weather is going to be great. And we got two really good teams that are fighting for first place.
Now, I know that you guys sell Molson Canadian, you sell Coors Light. For a game like this, do you have to say to Molson, do you have to alter the beer order a little bit and do get some Pilsner for all the Rider fans that are coming to Jay, you got to accommodate us. I mean, it's going to be hot on Saturday. What are you going to do? We're not going to die of thirst.
There's a lot of pill to be sold on Saturday, Saturday evening. All right. But yeah, right. I don't know that we're going to have any available for them. We got to maintain some level of control, I think.
It couldn't be better, Jay. We love what you're doing with the Stamps, and we're rooting for you. Hey, anybody that wants to create a game with its own trophy, like the Flint Mega Bowl, watch out. Pilsner, the Pilsner Cup may be a cheap knockoff, but just know you've given us that inspiration to make this thing. We're dreaming, and nothing is off limits as far as the Pilsner Cup and our planning committee when we get our football game going. Jay, we really appreciate you taking some time. Best of luck on Saturday. If you're, it's funny, you can't miss you. Jay, how did you play 13 years? That doesn't happen anymore. There are no 13-year careers in the CFL. When you read your Wikipedia, do you go, really? Was it that long?
My instant reaction was, man, that seems like a long time ago. I was incredibly fortunate. There's no doubt about it. I mean, a lot of things have to go right to be able to do that. The funny is, it wasn't up until recently I was at an event and somebody announced that I had the third most games played in Stampeders history, and the only two people ahead of me were kickers. That might be one of the things I'm most proud of. Now, it's since been passed by Rene Paredes, so I was happy for him. I'm still the longest-serving non-kicker, so that's a pretty cool stat.
And you went to Kent State, same school as Julian Edelman, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
All right. That's
I don't know that we get mentioned in the same. I don't know that we get mentioned in the same conversation, but still, it's still the same school.
Jay, have a great afternoon. We'll try and track you down at the game on Saturday as Rider Nation's going to show up in full effect, and we appreciate you taking some time here on the Sports Cage. Thanks. It's Jay
thanks very much for having me, for all your support.
No problem. Jay McNeil, president of the Calgary Stampeders. Yeah, it's a big game this weekend. 8-1 and 6-3. Although it can't change the standings, it is a first place showdown because here's the thing, Rider fans, green tinted glasses. The Stamps win on Saturday. They hold season series against us and the Bombers. That's not good. That's something we got to be concerned about. They're 3-0 against Winnipeg. They would be 2-0 against us. Hey, don't forget the 620 CKRM Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network has countdown to kickoff on Saturday starting at 2. We'll have the Rider Nation pregame show at 4. And Dave and Luke will have the call from McMahon Stadium. Stampeders and Roughriders kickoff just after 5 right here on the home of Rider Nation, 620 CKRM. With the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation 50-50, there's a new early bird prize to be won every game. This week, it's a Blue Jays weekend in Toronto. Flights to the T-Dot. Who's still calling it the T-Dot? I guess we are. 2 nights at a downtown hotel by the Rogers Centre and 2 tickets to 2 games to watch the Jays. Or you can take $3,600 cash. Entry deadline is Thursday at 5. You can buy your tickets online at riders5050.ca. Jays losing earlier today to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Final score was 2-1. Hey, thanks to Jay McNeil, president of the Calgary Stampeders, joined us in segment number 1 of the show. And he talked about, since he was named president, a couple of big things they were trying to tackle on the field and off the field. On the field, the product had to get better because 23 and 2024 weren't great. So that needed to change. And then off the field, he talked about since 2015, they've lost 45% of their season ticket base from around 20,000 to 13,000. How to get people back to McMahon Stadium in a city that is in love with the Calgary Flames. No small task. They're being creative. They're trying to do things differently. He talked about how the way the world of sports has changed. And keep in mind, everybody in every CFL office is going no different in Mosaic. They're going through, fans are different. We consume things differently. The world changed 4 and 5 years ago. We had no other options but to consume it differently. So they're trying a bunch of different stuff. The on-the-field product and the massive roster makeover, so far, so good. 6-3. The Calgary Stampeders. I think it all comes down to it. You've heard Darian say it many times, and Charleston, and they have the utmost respect. This does not happen without Vernon Adams Jr. and his play on the field. And Darian talks about his leadership off the field and what that means. And same with Charleston. And they would know leadership because it's sure evident when you don't have it. It's very easy for a team to be derailed and not live up to expectations. But so far, so good. The games where they haven't played well, outside of that crazy rain game, big play VA has been hurt. So Vernon Adams Jr., who is top of the board for a lot of people when it comes to MOP nominations because he is the heartbeat of that Stampeder team. And I thought it may take a while, maybe like a full season. This was like almost instantly. He was there, and it's not going to be like last week. He's not going to be a sitting duck in the pocket like Bo Levi Mitchell. They're going to move him around. Pat Delmonico and Dave Dickinson, they are not going to be leaving Vernon Adams Jr. to be a target back there. That Rider D-line is good, and they're firing on all cylinders. But it won't be a Bo Levi situation. I guarantee it. But was it that Bob Slowick defense that the Stamps have been able to throw together, like new defensive coordinator, pretty much all new players, and playing well? They got after Trevor Harris in that first game. Although Trevor was able to get some yards, it all seemed like they were between the 20s and everything was to the outside and it wasn't vertical. Now, Joe Robustelli's agent would be like, hey, hold on. My client, Mr. Weinrock, would say, we had a great game. Yes, you did. But it wasn't like we've seen the straight up and down. A lot of stuff to the outside. Some check downs. You got to think there's going to be some yards put up on Saturday. And as Jay said, if you're the president of any other team in the CFL, you love when the Riders come to town. Good weather, competitive teams, Rider Nation shows up en masse, hungry, thirsty, buy souvenirs, loves 50-50s. Maybe a tinge, maybe a little gambling tinge. But Saturday should be a playoff atmosphere. You've got 2 good football teams. And I don't think that if Jay said that they have 25,000 tickets sold as of today. Lately at McMahon Stadium, if you see the games on TV, they tarp off a lot of sections. So there's not the same capacity that they used to have. Maybe they're lifting off those tarps. I would have to think this is going to be the biggest crowd of the season so far. Maybe they'll have a bigger crowd on Labor Day, but who knows? I believe forecast Saturday in Calgary, sunny and 23. Hi to everybody that's going to be making the road trip. Are you staying in a hotel? Or are you staying with family? Or are you staying with friends? And where are you meeting before the game? What side of the stadium? East side or west side of the parking lot? You got to meet up. How did we do that before cell phones? You're just wandering, right? You're just wandering around looking for people. I'll be at this landmark at this time and show up. People couldn't handle that anymore. If you just had to, without the fact you couldn't be face down in your phone wandering a parking lot, going here, there, and everywhere. Hey, when the Riders play, get the KFC Game Day Special, the Big Crunch for just $4.95 and the Big Crunch Combo for $7.95 at participating KFC locations. If you missed the news earlier today, the Riders brought in another kicker. He was at practice. Campbell Fair is his name. He was drafted in 2023 by the Stamps. I think he was a first rounder. Didn't make the Stamps. Rene Paredes, a long time. Was he going to beat him out? No. He ended up on the Riders practice roster at the end of 2023. That's why if the name sounds familiar, he's been here before. Last year, nothing. And then this year he was in training camp with the Edmonton Elks. Now, Dave Thomas is going to join the show after 4 o'clock and we'll get the latest from today's practice. But apparently word is, it was like, all right, field goal. Mace called it out today. Boom. A little bit of a breeze. It was like a 55, 56 yarder, and he stroked it through. Okay. Nice. Brett Lothar, who I give him credit. Dave had a chance to talk to him yesterday. We had it on the SportsCage. For him to even do interviews when it seems like the world's coming down on you, I had all the respect in the world for him as a man and as a human being, a player. He could easily be like, not today. I'm not feeling it. But he did. And he's owning it. He gets it. We've all gone through slumps, whether they be in relationships, work. Maybe you have been a athlete of some sort and it just hasn't been going your way. So the Riders bringing in Campbell Fair as a kicker. He is now on the Riders practice roster. How long he's around, we don't know. There's a lot of people in Rider Nation thinking, oh, it's no big deal. Well, we've been so good, we haven't had to rely on the kicking game, but I think a lot of your opinion would change if maybe there's a game or two we didn't win because of kicking. Your opinion might be different. It's like your check engine light. Are you the type of person, if your check engine light came on to say, hey, hold on, there may be something here. Let's be honest. Most of us would instantly drive to the dealership to get that looked at. There's a few of us that would be like, no big deal. You're that same person that has on their iPhone 10,000 unread emails because the number is sitting right there. And that doesn't bother you. I am the opposite. That stuff bothers me. You check them all, get that out of there so there's no number on your phone. But you can't tell me a lot of you are cool as a cucumber when the check engine light's on, you would just ignore it. You're saying that because we're 8-1. And we're winning games handily. But it is the one thing that maybe isn't matching up to what the rest of the team's doing on offense and defense. J.O. and the gang are like, hey, you know what? Never hurts to have an extra leg. Many of the players we've had on, including Luke, color analyst for the Riders, says, competition makes you better at every position. Obviously, J.O. and Mace feel the same way. So Campbell Fair back with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. All right, let's take another break here on the show. There's a lot going on. Olympic rosters coming out, NFL training camp. There's games tomorrow. Week 12 in the CFL will kick off tomorrow night. We're going to dive into that. This is the SportsCage, and don't forget, at any time you can jump in and be part of the show. Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262. If there's something you want to add to, or you've got something to say, hit us up. This is the SportsCage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Johan Oviedo earned his first major league win since 2023, and the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Toronto Blue Jays 2-1. Oviedo struck out 6 over 5 innings in his second start since having Tommy John surgery. Blue Jays starter Chris Bassett had 10 strikeouts and gave up 2 runs on 6 hits. The Jays are off tomorrow and start a series with the Marlins on Friday. The 2025 Men's Baseball Championship start tonight at Curry Field. Opening ceremonies go at 7 o'clock, and then watch out, the long ball's coming out. The Home Run Derby will go at 7:30. Don't forget that the Sports Cage will be live from the Baseball Championships tomorrow and Friday at Curry. Canada West football. I don't know I've ever heard of a rare Wednesday night preseason game. The UBC Thunderbirds are in Saskatoon to take on the Huskies at Griffith Stadium. That game will go at 7. And the City of Regina breaking ground yesterday on the new $300 million aquatic facility at the Sportsplex behind the Lawson Aquatic Center. Colson, does that thing have a name yet, or are they going to sell the naming rights? Could it be the SportsCage Regina Aquatic Facility? Like, who do we got to... did you call the mayor? Actually, we did. We tried to get the mayor on today, right?
Yeah, because it'd be good to talk about this, because it's good for sports in Regina and Southern Saskatchewan to have a world-class aquatics facility. So doesn't have a voicemail, so I couldn't leave him a voicemail, but yeah.
When they talked about this world-class facility, now having these 2 Olympic-sized lane pools, this is what opens it up for these competitions to come and make Regina the place where they want to have them, because it's going to be state of the art. I'm a little more stoked about the lazy river situation. I don't swim laps. My wife does. Well, that's weird. Don't get your mom and your wife confused in your thoughts at the same time. My wife and her father love swimming laps. That's what they did in their family growing up. We were more splash around in Candle Lake or whatever pool we were at. All right. So the lazy river situation for me and the kids, I'm all over that. But a lot of people are like, 2-lane pools? Yes. And then they have the fast, the medium, and the slow. Now, if you're some sort of pool hardo and you're like, I'm in the fast, thank you. Excuse me, I don't know that you're going fast enough. You may want to move over a couple of lanes. I've seen this happen before because you're not keeping up with the pace with the other swimmers. Not awesome.
Yeah, it's almost worth calling them I'm trying, and then amateur, and then professional.
Thanks to everybody who's texting in on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, 306-936-6262.
By the way,
I'm thinking the key to getting people to text the show is just talk about the check engine light coming on the vehicle. Because a lot of people are like, Maz, you're nuts. If it comes on, ignore it. Big deal. Doesn't matter.
I was going to say, Roscoe texted in and he's like, yeah, check engine lights are overrated. I drove a truck for 3 years with it on, had 615,000 K on it. I'm like, yeah, I'm in a similar boat where the Grand Caravan that I drive has almost 300,000 kilometers on it. So the check engine light's usually just kind of on a holding pattern. Because at this point, what isn't going or needs replacing?
My mom drives this Pontiac Vibe, and I don't know who the engineering team behind the Pontiac Vibes were, but when you start the car, every light on the dash comes on, and there'll always be 1 or 2 that always stay on. Could be check engine, could be low washer, but it's like a Christmas tree situation of blinking lights. Somehow it's never dark. The dash is never dark in that car. There's always some light, and then my brother will go stick that sensor in, or that thing you plug into the fuses. No, it's fine, clears it off, and goes from there. My whole point being is that there's a lot of people, since we're 8-1, with the green filtered glasses, life's good, right? We don't have problems. We have champagne problems. But if the kicking game ended up losing us some games, a lot of these people would have a different opinion. And I'm saying the check engine light's on, they're ignoring it. But in real life, they don't. So don't be somebody else now. That's the whole point in this.
This isn't a check engine light. This is a low washer fluid light.
Okay.
Like it only gets you in trouble when it's a muddy, rainy day and then you can't see out the windshield. And that's when you're in the circumstance where you're going to need the kicker to win. So it's a circumstantial one, right?
Colson Schultz, I pretend we're in court, and I'm not your lawyer, but I'm the prosecution, and I'm going to... Colson Schultz, have you ever, living your whole life in this province of Saskatchewan, ever been caught in a sudden downpour that you did not expect, and the skies just opened up, and next thing you know, torrential rain, just like you described, but you had no idea it was coming?
That's like every other Tuesday here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Always got to be prepared. So, yeah, if you missed it earlier, Campbell Fair is the kicker that the Riders brought in. He is now on the Riders practice roster. He was part of the practice roster back in 2023. I was trying to remember back. Was Lothar kind of hurt at the end of 23? Was it just you could expand and bring in extra bodies? Was it?
I don't remember either. I can try and see if in 23, yeah, he was on the single game injury roster in what's the 10th month? October? For a week in October. Yeah, he was on the single game injured list in October in 23. So,
Benny on the text line says, first of all, we're not reading his text. So Benny, and he wants to know who's playing in the Pilsner Bowl. No. It was the Stampede Bowl. We're designing the Pilsner Cup. Oh, so we mentioned on the show on Monday. So we found a guy that's going to do the prayer before the game. I have an idea of who's going to sing the national anthem, but we're not there yet. But since the theme song, and I mentioned this on Monday's show, oh, you weren't working, is going to be Cigarettes and Alcohol by the band Oasis. And I found a clip. We'll dig it up. We'll play it for you a little later in the show, just so you can get the feel and the vibe. So any advertising we're going to do, it's going to have this riff in the background, because a Pilsner Cup, cigarettes, alcohol, Rider fans, like I can only imagine how many people outside McMahon Stadium on Saturday.
Is it like a recorded clip or is it like live? Because if it's recorded, YouTube's going to flag us for that. But if it's like live, we might be
recorded.
Okay.
No, Oasis is on tour. It's fine. We've been taken down before. But it's crazy to see, if you've ever been to a Stamps game at McMahon when the Riders are in town, whatever confectionaries or stores are around the stadium, they must see a surge in cigarette sales that day. Everywhere in the parking lot before you go in, people just goosenecking cigarettes, just hammering them down as fast as they possibly can before they go in. I think actually at McMahon, they still let you go out at halftime. You're allowed to leave. You remember the old days you could leave and go smoke and come back in? I think they still let you do that.
I wasn't old enough in those days, so no, I don't remember. The only time I've been to McMahon Stadium was for Calgary and Montreal game, and there was still probably, at most it would have been 1,000, but definitely a few hundred Rough Rider fans there. So we always show up.
If you are going to the game, and if you haven't been to McMahon Stadium lately, be prepared. They know that they don't have a great stadium, so they've tried to make it more amenable to fans. But since there's only so many bathrooms and the lines are really long, they have brought in a lot of porta potties inside and outside the stadium. So imagine if we're at Mosaic Stadium on the concourse, and not far from the concession, there's whole rows of porta potties now as you come in. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was. So just a little heads up if you're there on Saturday to be like, whoa, what's going? I haven't been here since the 09 Grey Cup. This is a little different. They could have used that in the 09 Grey Cup. That actually would have been some good planning.
Antoine from Regina on the text line is leaving at 5 a.m. to get to the game. So his first time
Saturday.
At McMahon. Yeah. It's his first time going to McMahon. He cannot wait. So safe travels, Antoine. But yeah, that's a few people who've texted us in telling us they're going to the game. So
yeah, if you are making the roadie, if Anton's leaving on Saturday, like I'm leaving Friday because I'm going to leave myself a little extra time. Trying to drive all in one day, it's 8-ish hours. And by the time you get to the game, I'd be asleep by halftime. You know, factor in sun, liquor, just, whatever else. You're going to be burnt, but I get it. You're going to do what you're going to do. If you are going, when are you going? Are you caravanning it? Is this a solo mission? Are you carpooling? Because my Moose Jaw Craig called me the other day and he's like, hey, I got your tickets. I'm like, all right, well, that's good. We're sitting somewhere near the end zones. That's where usually most of the Rider fans there sit, is together near the end zones. It's better to be it's better to be amongst friends, because if you're kind of in where all the season ticket holders still are, kind of like in the middle, closer to the 50-yard line, it's enemy territory. And it's not that people are nutso there, but it's always better to be sitting around Rider fans.
There's the oddball here and there. You don't want to end up on whatever their version of Just Bins is. I'm just saying.
Oh, there should be some good videos coming out on Saturday. Oh, it should be great. And the other thing too is they do have a nice tailgate. If you haven't been to one, they do. There's going to be people. If the game's at 5, there'll probably be people set up at like noon, 1 o'clock, getting their parking lot party going, and it should be great. And don't forget on Saturday we'll be covering it all. The Cooperators Rider Broadcast Network has countdown to kickoff starting Saturday at 2 o'clock. We've chatted a lot of riders, and we're going to go even more in depth after 4 o'clock as Voice of the Riders Dave Thomas will join us from day 2 Saskatchewan Roughrider practice and his thoughts on new rider kicker Campbell Fair. We'll do that next. This is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. If you are a hockey parent, a hockey mom or dad with a young goalie in the family, in about an hour's time, Wade Klippenstein, the director of hockey at Notre Dame, is going to join us. They've started a brand new specific goalie program for young goaltenders. It's going to run throughout the year. I learned about this last week, and I'm like, hey, let's get Wade on to chat about this. Because they're taking things to the next level. It's funny. It's funny. You're a hockey mom or dad, and son, daughter's a goalie. Besides the cost, because it all costs, but then there's the extras. Just lugging all that stuff around. Maybe Wade's got a way to help make it easier for the kids for lugging that equipment. This is the Sports Cage, hour number 2. It's Maz, and for Barney, as always, we love when you're part of the show. 306-936-6262. Prairie Land Rentals text line. Thank you for everybody that's texting in, telling us that, yes, they are making the road trip to Calgary this weekend. A lot of people driving up. When they're leaving, somebody said, watch out for dudes in NFL jerseys at Stampeder games. They're usually the people that will cause trouble with Rider fans. Good to know. I didn't know that. I've been to a few. Also been to a few where the trouble caused present company included in the people I was sitting with. It's not great. I was explaining earlier today, they have chain link fences in McMahon Stadium beside the stands. And that is because of Rider games in the early 2000s. Let's bring in Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders. Oh, Coulson, we made an error, or we didn't know this. Yesterday was Darian Durant's birthday, but he didn't mention anything on Monday. Do you think you could text him or call him to see if we can wish him a happy birthday on the air? He may not pick up. I'm just in case. We didn't do anything yesterday. So, all right, let's bring in Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Busy day at practice. Did you wish Darian a happy birthday, Dave? I know I didn't. I saw it on his Facebook feed. It said, happy birthday, Darian. I'm like, oh, man. You got him on every Monday, and we don't even, nothing. That wasn't a Dairy Queen cake or anything.
How many anniversaries have you missed? Just throwing that out there. And how well did it go the next day when you text and say, hey, would you mind coming back so that we can wish you a happy birthday or anniversary? Just saying.
Oh, no. Dave, you know this. When you're going to be married and stay married, you miss no anniversaries. You do not miss any anniversaries. You do get told that some of the gifts you've given in the past maybe didn't hit the mark, and was there any thought put into them? That's a whole other story. That's where Dave and Maz talk about marriage, but it's not on the Sports Cage. That's a separate podcast that we'll be starting in the next couple of weeks.
Fair enough.
It's all right. Dave, a lot of people talking about the Riders kicking game. I give Brett Lothar credit for chatting with you yesterday. To me, that he doesn't have to do that, but he's owning it. He's standing behind it. He is like the ultimate consummate professional. But the Riders bring in Campbell Fair today. He's now part of the practice roster. He was out there today. And did you know this was in the works? Was this a surprise when you got to the stadium? And how did he look in day one, second time around as a Rider?
Trying to answer that question, I didn't have any prior knowledge that it was going to be Campbell Fair or anyone else. I didn't know. I do know that the Saskatchewan Roughriders belief and one of their core pillars is that they have a standard of performance. Mm-hmm. And if they don't believe that you're hitting that standard of performance, then they're going to make changes. And that's an accountability clause, if you will. And I do know that Jeremy O'Day, Larry Dean, the rest of the staff, Larry Dean's been down at NFL camps for the last couple of weeks. Saw him back at Mosaic Stadium today. I do know that him and Kyle Carson are all, the three of them are all committed to ensuring that they've got the best product. And if they can find some way to better the football team, they will do that. And they're not going to hold fast doing that. Now, don't kid yourself. Brett Lawther is a staple on this football team, not just for the kicking that he provides. He's a team captain. He's a leader. He brings an awful lot to that locker room that no one will ever see. So, yeah, he's a good guy. We know that off the hop. Yes, he does a lot in the community. Yes, that's absolutely true. But he's also a glue guy in the locker room. And it's really, really tough to go and disrupt any of that energy. And a little bit of that disruption occurred today with the signing. However, that doesn't say that Brett Lawther is leaving. That doesn't say Brett Lawther is gone. That just means that, hey, there's another kicker here that wants to try to earn a job as a professional kicker in the Canadian Football League.
Now, Campbell Fair, if the name sounds familiar, is because he was a Rider back in 2023. Take us back. Was he here just for like a week or two? Because he was on the practice roster then, but it was near the end of the season. What was the scenario?
So, yeah, you're right. So, originally drafted by the Calgary Stampeders, round 6. He went, had a tryout with the Stamps. That didn't work out. He's had a couple of other tryouts, and one of which was here with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He ends the season on the practice roster, and what happens if you end the season on a practice roster, you automatically become a free agent. He wasn't offered a contract, or maybe there were terms that they couldn't agree to, whatever the case may be. Campbell Frere was not brought back. He is now back, and that's kind of the story. But again, he was with Edmonton in training camp this year, giving Vincent Blanchard a bit of a run for his money. As I understand, the kicking competition between the two was pretty fierce. Blanchard didn't start the season the best for the Edmonton Elks, but then again, no one on that team really did, to say the least, right?
So he wasn't the problem. Trust me, he wasn't the problem in Edmonton.
That's right. So that's where Campbell comes in, and that's how he finds himself here in Riderville.
Okay. And from what it sounds like, they put him to work in practice today. Like, he was out there, he's kicking field goals. Like, how? Now, normally for the average fan, we don't go to practice. You're there all the time. Does field goals happen at the start, at the end, in the middle? When does it happen? Does it spur of the moment? Like, when do they do that when the Riders are practicing?
It depends on the day, quite literally. But usually what we usually see is that Brett Lawther is amongst the first players to get out onto the field. He'll come out early with Jorgen Hughes and Joe Couch. They'll practice some kicking on their own before the team arrives out onto the field. And then usually early on in the practice, they go through field goal. And on a day like today, so today being day 2 of their preparation week, they do add more special teams components to the practice, the workout, and the preparation. So you do see an opportunity for more kicks to occur. And today we saw that, not just with the kicking game, but also with the punting game. But Campbell Frere got his opportunity to get out there, kick the football, and again, he was put to the test because he came into Regina yesterday. Wow, long story short, he had a heck of a travel day getting into Regina and didn't have a lot of rest, but it's like, hey, buddy, put on your cleats, let's go. So Coach Mace put him on the clock, literally. Clock counting down, 56-yard field goal comes in, and here we go. All's good. And so, yeah, he nailed it between the uprights. But, yeah, that's it right there to a nutshell, is that, hey, welcome here. Now let's go.
Nice. It's like Mace doing this, and maybe if the streak continues, maybe always day 1, it's going to be like, oh, let's put the pads on. All right, time to knock the rust off. Pads on, that second week in a row. All right, let's keep going. And if they keep winning, I can't see them changing, right? Because there's a lot of crazy, superstitious people in the world of football.
That's the biggest thing right there. The Riders are undefeated when they have pads on in day number 1 this year. Just so you know.
I saw you on Saturday with your video, and I'm like, I forgot to ask Dave because I was going to bring it up. I had it in my notes. What suit jackets are undefeated this year, or what ties, what combo? Like, if I see at the game on Saturday in Calgary, like, what's the dress going to be? Is that already picked out? Was that predetermined back when the schedule came out? Like, where are you in your craziness?
So where I'm at right now is that I sit down and figure out the records of each individual outfit and tie, shirt, jacket, pant combination. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I can tell you the shoes that I'm wearing are currently 8-1. So they've been there through the regular season. They were ditched after the preseason, the old ones. So there you go.
But on the flip side, is Luke this crazy too, or is Luke shows up however Luke shows up and let her rip?
Well, thanks to Aaron over at Colin O'Brien's, we both look pretty good when we get there.
I know, but does Luke have a spreadsheet with dress shirt in one column, suit jacket in another, shoes, pants?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely
I
not.
kind of figured that. Any surprise? I looked at the injury report and I'm like, a lot of healthy bodies on there. There's not a lot of, when it says DNP, that means did not practice. There was only one DNP on there.
Yeah, and that one scares me. That one scares me.
When I saw that, I'm like, oh, it's that knee again, man.
Well, I don't know which knee it is, and I didn't see the injury, and I didn't even see Nick at the facility today. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Please don't read in between the lines, aside from Dave Thomas saying that I just didn't happen to see Nick Wiebe today. So, again, we talked about it last week and how it was almost a calendar year to the day that he got his first CFL start, got into a couple of games, and then re-aggravated the knee in practice. So, again, I read that, and my heart kind of sank. A good kid out of Alberta, played for the U of S Huskies, was down south where he started his college career, and he's come in and he's earned this spot on special teams, 10 tackles going into last week, and getting some rotation in on defense too. So that's huge for a guy that missed most of last year and is just in his second year as a pro.
I felt the exact same way when I saw the picture on social media on the weekend of Lake Corte Moore and in the hospital bed and, with the leg and the brace. Just like there's another one of those guys that just all the talent in the world, but it's the injury bug. And sometimes it gets you and, and it's tough. And you're like, and you hope for Wiebe that this is just a small thing and it's a nothing. And it's kind of like, all right, he's back out there tomorrow. Prairie Land Rentals text line 306-936-6262. Travis says, ask Dave about Sean Bain Jr.
Sean Bain Jr. is wearing what I would call it a game brace on his knee right now, and he's working it in, for lack of a better term. They have him doing some exercises on the side that is stressing the knee joint, and I think this is part of the confidence buildup, but it's also a situation right now where you don't want to risk Sean Bain Jr. coming back too early. And that was one of the things that I've heard from other athletes is that they push themselves too hard to come back too quick. And Sean being the competitor that he is, that this is tough for him to watch. Now today, he was actually out there running more routes in the individual drills than I've seen him run in quite a while. And he looks good. The question at one point that was pointed out to me was the fact that when he makes his break, he was losing some of the speed that he had normally had. And I guess Sean Bain Jr., in the description I was given, is that he's such a consistent route runner that you know where he's going to be and how he's going to get there. And if you're off by a millisecond, right, that can throw a lot of timing out individually and for the team. So Sean Bain Jr., to answer the question, he has been active and is continuing to get more active. He is going to force a decision on the coaching staff extremely quickly, I would suggest, and the fact that he is returning into game form, it just is going to be when will that question of Corey Mace and Mark Mueller, Jeremy O'Day, when will they go ahead and make that decision?
They'll probably give you the stock answer of every game is important. We need to go 1-0 this week. But if you're Jake Mayer and Tommy Stevens, how much do you want to win this game on Saturday? Keep in mind, they may not play a snap. I mean, Stevens short yardage, and Mayer, unless it's a certain situation, but they may be stapled to the bench because of Trevor Harris being Trevor Harris. But both of them are going back home where they started their careers, and now they're Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, and the player you should add into that is Mike Rose on the defensive line as well, right?
That's right. I forgot
just came
Mike
over
Rose.
from Calgary.
That's right, because they didn't offer him a contract because they thought, no, it's time to move on. There's nothing left in the tank.
And, while I don't want to put words in their mouths because I don't know exactly how much they're looking forward to it, what I can tell you is that what they always say, and they told us before they played Calgary the first time, was how much they love it being in Saskatchewan. How, for Jake Mayer, he said, what a breath of fresh air it's been. for him to go ahead and re-energize, recommit himself. And I'm not suggesting that it, by any way, shape, or form that he let off the gas pedal, but he looks like a different player in the fact that he's got confidence in what he's doing, and he's just having fun. Same goes with Tommy Stevens. Again, I was talking to him like, man, you're going out on 3rd and short, and the fans are on their feet. Where does that happen anywhere else for the short yardage quarterback, right? And so Tommy kind of smiled, and he, again, loved it. His dad was in town for the game last weekend. Loved it. And when you bring up Mike Rose, again, he's loving it. He's playing fantastic football. Him and Micah Johnson inside are arguably the top 2 defensive tackles in this league in the way that they can take on double teams and the way that they can affect the passing game. So they're all looking forward to it. I doubt anyone is going to give any bulletin board material, but again, what I can say without a shadow of a doubt is how much they love being with the Roughriders.
We had Jay McNeil, the president of the Calgary Stampeders, on in hour number 1. And I've always appreciated Jay, and I've never spoken to him before an hour ago. But in any interview I've ever seen since he's taken over as the president, he's been incredibly honest and candid about the situation regarding the Stampeders, not only on the field, but off the field. And he kind of said, like, hey, they weren't meeting their standards off the field, fans, engagement, and all that, and they weren't meeting it on the field, and it meant time for change. And I said, that's pretty risky. The roster turnover that you guys did to be 6-3, you know, Dave, sometimes this experiment doesn't work out, a.k.a. Ottawa, a.k.a. Edmonton, times 5 or 6 year. Like, sometimes it doesn't. Guts move by that organization to get rid of guys like Mayer, Stevens, Rose, guys, they're pretty good CFL players to be like, now we got to go in a different direction.
Well, yeah, and doesn't that verify and maybe validate something that we talked about last year is there are a lot of people that were calling for Dave Dickinson to be let go. And we talked about here, like, you don't go to being from a football genius to a football dummy overnight. Sometimes the room will tune you out. Sometimes different things will happen. But I don't think it was an X's and O's thing. Again, was the workload too high? Well, it looks like Dave has taken on the same workload this year in Calgary. And again, sometimes it's just, you got to make that change and make that refresh, and it worked out well. And I'm with you. It was a gamble. I was shocked yesterday, if you're listening to Barney, and he was talking with Jock Wilson from Calgary. And Jock said, we understand that we're not going to fill the building like we used to. The old barn just isn't as good as it used to be, alluding to the condition of McMahon Stadium. I'm like, wow, that's kind of a tough place to be in. But maybe that is a reality. But then, like you say, talking today, hearing over 25,000 tickets have been sold.
I know.
A little passion there, right?
Normally, I think they cap it around, because they tarp off sections like a lot of stadiums do that don't have fans. It's like 22, 23, 24,000. But it's funny, when you're watching the games on TSN, it looks like 10,000 people maybe. The Elk games are worse. It looks like there's 1,000 people at Edmonton Elk games these days. So I think that the situation may be a little more dire in Edmonton than Calgary, but Calgary used to have 33,000 fans. You couldn't get a seat. It used to be sold out.
Saying that, though, it is really deceptive. And I learned that the hard way this year, because we were in Toronto, and I'm like, there's like nobody here. Like, this is terrible. And of course, we've got the same vantage point. We're on the same side as television is. But then I took a step outside the booth at halftime, right? Just to look around to get a feel. And it was pretty full down below us, right? So all the fans were on the one side of the field because they want to sit behind the players' benches. Plus, there's a shade component, so on and so forth. Same deal in Edmonton, from what I understand. And again, I didn't capture this feeling last year when we were in Edmonton, and it'll be interesting what happens when we go to Commonwealth Stadium later this season. But there are a lot of fans that want to sit behind the home team bench. And that just happens to be the non-TV side, which makes it look a little worse than what it is. Now, I'm not going ahead and saying, hey, there's tons of people, it's a sellout. I'm just saying that, sometimes the look is deceptive on television.
Week 12 in the CFL kicks off tomorrow night. Winnipeg 5-4, in Montreal 5-5. Caleb Evans for the Alouettes is out with the season. Is it an MCL or an ACL? He's done. So they signed Shea Patterson. And good for Shea. I'm glad he's getting another shot in this CFL, because whatever anybody wants to say about him, he performed dutifully for the Riders. When called upon to, whatever the situation, went in, and you could tell he's a heart and soul. He's a guts guy. It didn't work out here, but I got nothing but respect for Patterson, trying to make the best of whatever situation he was given all through his CFL career, not only just with the Riders.
Absolutely. And you being a father like you are, think about what he encountered last year. Trevor Harris gets hurt. Shea Patterson finds out that, hey, you're going in, and, oh, by the way, that's your due date. So plays a game, gets out to Michigan for the birth of his child, and then comes back, and then, again, is performing, is operating, all with a newborn that he's looking on from afar. Again, I was captivated by his focus and his attention to detail, and I'm with you. I'm glad he's getting another shot. I hope that he makes the most of it in Montreal.
I know there's a lot of people that are relishing in the fact, the Bombers have 4 losses. Remember, after 4 games last year, they had 4 losses and then managed to turn it around. They're learning how to win. It's a different team. Yes, they've lost players. They've lost some free agents, but they're winning through adversity. If they beat Montreal, they're 6-4, and they're going on the road. One of the signings this week on the practice roster, don't know if he'll play, but they've been decimated by injury. They bring back former All-Star DeMario Houston. Played 3 years with the Bombers, played last year with the Stamps, but in the offseason was charged with a crime. The charges, and then he was cut by the Stamps. The charges ended up getting dropped. So nothing came of that, and the Bombers pick him up. With a guy with that much experience, he's on the street, he would know the Bomber system. It kind of makes sense. Now, some people don't like the fact of the legal stuff, but if there's nothing there, and some people say, no, there is stuff there. Well, okay, but in the court of law, it's not. And if he is free to travel and cross the border, then the Bombers are doing what with their due diligence and bringing in a football player that can help their team.
Far be it from me to pass judgment on anybody, but what I will say is that this is a great opportunity for both the player and the team, as there's a need on both sides, and I think that that's an area that Winnipeg really needs to shore up and wants to shore up, and I think that they've successfully done it. Now, I don't know if he gets in. I haven't heard. I didn't look at the depth chart before coming in, but I would very much be surprised if he does not play this week. I'm very confident that he likely gets in.
I wonder if this is a situation, and I don't know if 2 years ago the Bombers offered him a contract to stay in Winnipeg, but then he chose more money and went to Calgary. That the grass was greener. Maybe if he just stays in Winnipeg, like, you always wonder about that. And now he's back with them. And I think he automatically helps them make them better, because when he was on, he's one of the better defenders in the league and gets a few games under his belt. That it makes Winnipeg better. I think that's a completely winnable game for Winnipeg on the road with Montreal, because of, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Alouettes. It's not going to be Davis Alexander. So throw that right out the window. It's going to be a mishmash of you don't know who. So advantage Winnipeg just for the roster stability.
Well, and the time of possession, right? Because Montreal's defense is a good defense, but they've had a problem staying on the field with Davis Alexander not at the helm. And when you lose the time of possession as significantly as the Alouettes have, your defense is out there an awful long time. And again, even the best defense in the world is going to get tired out in a football game, and that's where Montreal has got to find a way to stay on the field offensively. I thought they'd go much heavier on the run game, but they haven't done it thus far this year, which I'm a little surprised at, but I'm guessing we'll see a healthy dose this week.
Edmonton in Ottawa Friday. I kind of like what the Elks have going. The Cody and the sprinkling of Jesus here, there, whatever. They look like a complete football team with him at quarterback. Now that doesn't. Now some people are going to be like, it just does. Their offense seems complete. Whether it's working or not, it just seems if they're running, they're running. If they're throwing, they're throwing. Cody is never going to be a guy you're going to put on film to show a 14 to 16-year-old young football player of, here is how you play quarterback. That's never going to be Cody. He's got his own style, but it seems to work. And Ottawa, who knows? Drew Brown, which Drew Brown are you going to get?
Drew Brown's actually out for the game, so that's not going to help things either.
Okay, well, yeah, there you go. So then I'm good with my Edmonton. I like what Edmonton's doing. They're getting better as a football team. And Javon Leake has really come on. And so is Justin Rankin in these past couple of games. Like, they're playing like they did last year when the Elks got hot and causing people problems, not only in the return game, but running the football.
Yeah, and Justin Rankin he doesn't get a lot of credit for the physicality that he brings in the blocking scheme, but he does a nice job. When it comes to Cody Fajardo, the one question that is already being asked in Edmonton, and I'm sure it's going to increase in volume as the year goes on and the team continues to have success if they do, is should this franchise not have gone ahead with an open competition for quarterback in training camp? Because many would suggest, if that was the case, that it would have been Cody Fajardo's team come week number 1. Hindsight being 2020, we'll never know the answer to that. But conversely, you mentioned the Ottawa Red Blacks. Dustin Crum is going to start at quarterback as Drew Brown left with that I guess it was a contact type knee injury in Winnipeg last week. But man, I just feel for Drew Brown. Like, if the guy could stay healthy, that is such a different team with him at quarterback.
BC is playing good football. They're in Toronto on Saturday. That's game 1 of the doubleheader if the Riders and Stamps are the afternoon cap on that. Lions v. Argos. The Argos at times look good and can put it together. They just can't seem to do that for 4 quarters any game. There's something, if they have one good one, here comes 2 bad ones. Yeah. And sometimes in the 2 bad ones, the score gets so ridiculously out of hand, they just can't come back. Nathan Rourke's coming around. I think him and his head coach are on the same page. His receivers, they're getting better. And Farhan said last week, if the BC defensive line could actually start getting some pressure and some sacks, Matthew Betts, start living up to your contract. And he did last week. Did you see him? He was playing with some fire last week against Montreal. He was a game changer or a game breaker. And if they keep playing like that, if you're a Lions fan, you've got to be happy, because you've probably been waiting around going, okay, when is this going to kick in?
When it comes to BC, really the old line, right? The only thing consistent about BC this season has been their inconsistency. And if they can find a way to start to weave these games and stack them good effort one on top of the other, then I'm going to be thoroughly convinced. But you got to start to see the stacking happen, because it seems like one week the offense is going, the next week the defense isn't. Then the defense is going and the offense isn't the next week. They just can't get all 3 phases together. I'm really curious to see how they do in Toronto against an Argonauts team that's playing for their lives. They know that right now. They have to win. And we'll see if desperation can overcome what the Lions have done as far as having motivation to get in and remain consistent.
If you remember back to Monday's show, desperation was the name of the cologne that we were selling after that horrible game. All right. We're going to let Dave, there it is. Desperation is a stinky cologne. We're going to let Dave go back into his walk-in closet and keep organizing his wardrobe for the weekend. Never know. Maybe Dave calls an audible on Saturday morning in Calgary at the Westin as he's getting dressed before the game, and something completely new comes out. That's why you should follow Dave on social media to find out, when he does his walk and talk before the game, what the fit, as the kids say, is going to be before the big matchup. Dun, dun, dun. Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Oh, and by the way, go to sportscage.com, sign up for that insider email, because Dave has a vault of prizes, including, okay, what's this Jeremy Roenick thing you teased about last week that we can win our way to, which I'm like, did I miss another email, miss a text, a group team? So what?
Big dinner coming.
Teasing us for, okay.
Big dinner coming to Regina, and we've got a whole schwack of NHL guests. It's a big Indigenous hockey celebration. We've got from Tiger Williams, hometown is Weyburn, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
One of the Tutus going to be there. It'll be a fantastic night. Opportunity to rub elbows with those folks from the NHL. Become an insider. You get a special code each and every day. You go ahead, you zip it on in, you enter, and that's how you can do it. We've given away tickets to Rider games and, well, you name it. This is going to be a good one, too.
Sign up to be an insider at sportscage.com. All right, time to take a break. When we come back, we know there's problems with the Dallas Cowboys and Micah Parsons. But is the final nail in the coffin on that situation? We'll find out. NFL insider Adam Schefter had some pretty telling words about the situation. And if you're a Cowboys fan, it doesn't look good. More on the NFL and a busy preseason, which starts tomorrow night as well. Man, there's games everywhere. This is the Sports Cage on the home of Rider Nation, 620 CKRM. At the Canada Summer Games in Newfoundland, Saskatchewan has 8 medals, 2 gold, 3 silver, and 3 bronze. One of those gold medals belongs to today's clutch performer, Regina's own Lila Stewart. Picks up the gold medal for artistic diving. Lila, congratulations. You got to know mom and dad are proud. And the whole province is behind you. That's nice. I mean, we're plucky. We're 8 medals, not bad. A couple more weeks to go. Things are good. That's your clutch performer for Nick's service. It's the Sports Cage. Maz in for Barney today. NFL preseason continues tomorrow. Steelers, Panthers, Patriots, Giants. But it's funny, overshadowing the games, as always during training camp, there's guys that are holding out. Some are, a lot of it always has to do with money, but then it has to do with contract length. And although you could be franchised and paid a lot of money, guys don't want to get franchised. And 3 weeks ago, the Micah Parsons situation boiled over with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, and it's kind of overshadowed everything to do with the Dallas Cowboys. Well, this is NFL insider Adam Schefter yesterday, and what he says is the latest in the situation, that this thing just may be done, Cowboys fans.
You can't get a deal done if you're not even talking. And the two sides haven't had any negotiations since late March or early April. And it sounds like at this point it's personal. It sounds like each side is dug in. The Cowboys have come out and said what they said publicly at the start of training camp, which Micah didn't like. Micah came out and asked to be traded, said he was ready to move on from Dallas, which I'm sure they didn't like. And right now, both sides seem to be angry. Now, have other people put those feelings aside in the past and figured out a way to work out a deal? Yeah. I don't see that happening here. I see these two sides headed towards a divorce in time. The only question is, when is that divorce going to happen and how is it going to happen? Are they going to trade him now? Are they going to trade him after this year? Are they going to move on? When? But it certainly doesn't feel like these two sides want to enter a long-term relationship together. That's the way it feels today, and we'll see if they do anything to change that before the regular season begins in a couple of weeks.
Colson, when you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, and how clean of an organization they run, or any of the good teams that are in that top tier and that upper echelon, this never happens. They're not fighting in the media. They're not playing games. And what was it the other day? What was it you had on, or you had mentioned that Jerry even said, well, I got to keep us in the news. I got to keep us relevant. So I need drama like this so people care about the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it was about a week ago, and his exact words were, the Cowboys are a soap opera. And I'm like, I don't know how more on the nose you can get. And I also don't know if you actually realize what you're saying. And I just feel bad for all the Dallas Cowboys fans, because like, even when the owner's saying it, then it's like, oh, well, we're hooped then.
Maybe Google this. It may take a bit. I would love to know what season tickets cost for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm assuming they're expensive. All right. Like if you're lower bowl 50-yard line, like you are investing a lot. And maybe you're super rich and you don't care. But if you do care about the Cowboys and you are paying a lot of money and your owner is telling you 2 weeks into training camp that this is going to be like Days of Our Lives, General Hospital, I'm going to go old school, I'm going to throw Another World in there, and Santa Barbara, you don't even know what those soap operas are, Coulson, because you weren't alive when they were on.
I am familiar.
They're waving the white flag, and here you are, you're being a dummy, dropping 30, 40, 50, 60,000 bucks to be a season ticket holder, and you know that the season's already a joke. But it doesn't matter, because the NFL doesn't need fans. Before they play one down, if nobody shows up, they're automatically making money because the machine is bigger than the product. It doesn't matter. They don't need to play a snap of football and they make money.
According to Google's AI overview, because I'm not actually going to start signing up to find out what the actual prices are, but they can be anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000, depending on location and amenities. Like if you're getting a season suite or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, I'm sure. And then there's going to be a $4,000 parking pass that you're going to have to buy, and then you're going to have to spend X amount on concessions. Like, I doubt it's as cut and dry as that, but you're spending hard-earned money, and your owner's like, whew. And on the flip side of that, the good teams, you don't hear that. Like, that doesn't happen on an Andy Reid football team.
No.
Andy, they probably would handle that differently. Hey, do we care tomorrow night if Aaron Rodgers plays for the Steelers? I want him to. I'm curious. I want to see him tear up the Carolina Panthers in like one series or two series just to prove that he's still SportsCage. He's our guy. Aaron Rodgers is our kind of guy.
I think he's your guy. You're the only one that's really hyping him up.
You haven't watched Enigma more than once on Netflix? Come on, Colson.
No, I haven't watched it at all. I have not invested into it at all.
I know you're not watching Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, knowing that Roman Reigns isn't being booked properly these days, doing run-ins in running shoes. And like, come on. Like, you're wasting a top-tier talent. He's your Micah Parsons. Triple H, do something with him. Yeah, but you've got to be frustrated because, like, when we had Luke on Friday, he was talking about being in an NFL fantasy draft, and before you can do your teams, if you don't know where Micah's going to be, this affects. Not that I really care about fantasy football players and their lives, and if it works out well for them, and if they win, but you got to be wondering, be like, well, which team is it? It's just like Trey Henderson from the Cincinnati Bengals, and oh my God, Joe Burrow. If your offensive line doesn't get any better, you're dead. And your team's not making the playoffs. That was awful on Monday night, although they won. But just sign Trey Hendrickson and give him the money. Your team needs it. Your team needs all the help it can get. Joe Burrow may be another one of those guys that's going to have a great NFL career and never win anything because of roster mismanagement. All right, time for another break here on the Cage. Let's see. What are we doing? Oh, little hockey news. There's some tryouts. There's some Olympic action going on. And then on the local front, we'll dive into that next. This is the SportsCage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Toronto Blue Jays earlier today 2-1. Jays starter Chris Bassett had 10 strikeouts, gave up 2 runs on 6 hits, but it wasn't enough for the win. The Jays are off tomorrow and start a series with the Marlins on Friday. Tonight, the 2025 Men's National Baseball Championship start at Curry Field. Opening ceremonies go at 7, then a little bit of fun. What everybody loves to see, the long ball. Home run derby will go at around 7:30. And don't forget, the SportsCage live at Curry tomorrow and Friday, weather permitting. There's a odd Wednesday night game in Canada West football. It's preseason action. The UBC Thunderbirds. Maybe they got cheap flights to get to Saskatoon to play this game. Hey, listen, every dollar counts, right? Strike and stuff. So the UBC Thunderbirds taking on the Saskatchewan Huskies. That'll go at 7 o'clock. And then what is it tomorrow night? The Regina Rams in Manitoba to take on the Bisons for their preseason game. Regular season will get going next weekend. That's your sports ticker for Extreme Hockey. Not a lot going on in the hockey world. USA Hockey, though, came out with their press release saying that 44 players will attend an off-ice Olympic orientation camp in a couple of weeks in Plymouth, Michigan. All three Hughes brothers are going to be on the invite list. Quinn, Jack, and Luke. Will they make the 25-man roster? We don't know. But the familiar names are on there. You're going to get your Patrick Kanes, and some people are like, is he too old? Nah, he can still play at a high level. You need that. The Jack Eichels, Matt Boldy from the Minnesota Wild. Now, there's a guy that could really go off. Kyle Connor from the Jets, Jake Gensel. You've got Clayton Keller, Matthew Nyes from the Leafs Nation. Listen, it's the only bright spot you're probably going to have, right? Now, a lot of people wondering about Matthew Tkachuk. He was already named to the team in June. He was invited to the camp, but he can't attend. He's injured. They're still deciding whether or not he's going to have surgery. And I always wonder if it is like, should you make that decision the minute you put the Stanley Cup down and sober up? Surgery or no? Because if you are, get it done. It's less time. But then if you're like Matthew going, well, I have surgery, I can sit out, come back for the Olympics, play the fun part of the season, stretch run, playoffs. They probably know more than that. Can we throw out a hot take? Controversial? Does Team America have better goaltending than Team Canada? Jordan Binnington, yes, 4 nations. Connor Hellebuck doesn't do well in the playoffs, but maybe he okay. Jeremy Swayman, Joey Decord, but Jake Ottinger from the Stars. Can he, in the Team Canada or Team USA's mind, overtake as the number 1 goaltender? That'll be interesting to see. Now we wait, because from Team Canada, 77 players, and they're going to whittle that down to probably this 40-ish like the Americans that are going to get invited. When does the torch get passed from the young to the young from the old? An injury question. Stick around. Final hour of the show coming up next. Director of Hockey at Notre Dame in Wilcox, Wade Klippenstein, will join the show in minutes. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. We've talked a lot of football in the first couple hours of the show today. Campbell Fair is a new kicker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He's been brought in to be on the practice roster. Brett Lothar is still the kicker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but Campbell Fair was at practice today. And according to Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, under pressure with 20 seconds on the clock and it counting down, nailed a 56-yard field goal. Welcome to Rider Nation. Apparently had a hell of a travel day to get here yesterday. Out there, throw his cleats on, boom, you're into the fire. Campbell Fair, if that's a familiar name, he was part of the team back in 2023. He spent a couple weeks of the practice roster, and then the season ended, became a free agent. Was a 6th-round draft pick of the Calgary Stampeders back in 2023, kind of been bouncing around. He was in camp this year with the Edmonton Elks. But not to say that the Elks made a lot of great decisions, but the kicking game, which didn't start well for them. So anyways, Campbell Fair, now a Saskatchewan Roughrider, was out practicing today with Brett Lothar. Dollars to donuts unless something happens injury-wise. Brett Lothar is your kicker on Saturday in Calgary. That's just a fact. So there was news there. What else did we learn? Jay McNeil, president of the Calgary Stampeders, joined us in hour one of the show. He talked about the hard decisions they had to make, not only off the field with how they're going to do things differently, what they had to do on the field to totally make over this roster, because they had 2 subpar seasons after 2 decades of success in Calgary, and they needed to shake things up. They needed football players, but they needed people with character. So far, the experiment, and it's a big one. When you have 23, 25 new players on your roster, and a lot of new players to the CFL, and you're 6-3 and you're fighting for first place in a home playoff game, so far, so good. We'll find out on Saturday. We also talked about the fact that when Rider Nation come to town, it's always a party atmosphere at McMahon Stadium. If you're headed to the game, and thank you for everybody that's texted in with their travel plans. Some people saying that they're young and spry and they can get up at 5 a.m. on Saturday, drive to Calgary, do the game, and they're not going to run out of steam. The whole world's a young man's game, it seems. There's no way. Getting up at 5, drive to Calgary. We get there, I got to go to bed. There's no way I can go to a football game. I'll be sleeping by halftime in the seats. Weather forecast Saturday for kickoff, Riders and Stamps, 23 degrees. I was checking some of the concession prices. Not that we get it. Inflation, everything's gone up. It's not like there's dollar beers at Mosaic, but things are a little pricier at McMahon, it's looking like, than what we're used to paying at Mosaic when we go to a game. And be prepared, the facilities are not the same. It's a good stadium. It has good sight lines when you're in your seat. It's just a bit of a disaster. And Jay even mentioned that. Like, the stadium they play in is not exactly awesome for the world we live in today. It's very hard to go to the concession or go to the bathroom because it's very cramped and it's very small. I don't know how they used to get 33,000 people in there because it's a nightmare. But Jay said they just passed 25,000 seats sold for today. For the game on Saturday. Got to be the biggest game of the season. By far, it's going to be the biggest game of the season. I wonder if it'll even be bigger than Labor Day. Because if the Elks stay bad or mid, is it there? Because there's a good dose of Rider Nation that lives in Alberta that will show up for the game. And obviously, a lot of people listening to The Cage traveling for the game this weekend. And he talked about how important it is from the CFL scheduling standpoint that the Riders, when they come to town, got to be on a Saturday. Every other team would love us there on a Saturday because the cash register rings. The accounting department's happy. If the Stamps don't win on Saturday, on Monday when they're in an office going through, I know that there's no money anymore. It's all like debit and credit. When they're going through receipts and the stack, well, they don't stack paper anymore because it's all computerized. When the spreadsheet keeps getting longer and longer and longer, they'll be like, that was a good day. We could use about 8 more of these Stampeder Rider games. Should be good. So if you missed any part of that interview with Jay McNeil, and we also asked him about the Stampede Bowl, and it was just a crazy idea that started and it just kept growing and growing and growing from there, much like our Pilsner Cup idea. And don't you think that we haven't not been working in the background? Colson, I have an idea for who's going to do the national anthem. Somebody very familiar that the audience would know, Rider Nation and the SportsCage audience. Who's playing at halftime? We have a theme song. We have somebody to do a prayer before the game. Trophy needs work. Listen, I'm not happy with the first draft, but it's rough. It's a mock. Mock V1, V.1. Nothing set in stone. We're working. Jay chuckled when I told him we're going to do the Pilsner Cup. Yeah, that needs work. It's not anywhere near, but everybody's busy. I get it. But if, when we hammer down, we're going to have a chance to do that. Hey, what do you think is going to happen on Saturday? Play SaskTel Pick the Score with us right now. Tell us what the score of the game is going to be, and send us your first and last name to 306-936-6262. SaskTel Pick the Score means you have a chance to win tickets to an upcoming game and a $200 SaskTel gift card. And Colson, correct me if I'm wrong. When are we giving these away? When are we giving away the Labor Day tickets?
These are Labor Day tickets.
Oh, these are going to be the Labor Day tickets.
Yep, because it's the next home game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you want to go to Labor Day on us, you got your phone in your hand anyways. Stop scrolling Instagram and text us the score along with your first and last name. There's been people texting in, but if you just, we don't have a name, it's automatic. We just don't have the time to get back to you. All right. So you got till 6 to do that because we got to give these away. Labor Day tickets and a chance at a $200 SaskTel gift card to play SaskTel Pick the Score. It's been a busy week of practice for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and our voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, had a chance to catch up with Mr. Touchdown, Tommy Nield, after a big game on the weekend.
Obviously, you must be feeling pretty good. 2 consecutive games with touchdown passes. Looks like you're rolling. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel great. Just building more confidence each week and trying not to get too high when things are good and not too low when things aren't so good. So just trying to stay consistent.
What was it like playing in front of a capacity crowd last week?
Yeah, that was incredible. I've never played in front of a crowd like that. So just you could feel the energy the whole afternoon, and it's truly amazing being on the field and having that many people supporting you while you're out there.
I'm hoping you can take me inside your brain for 26 seconds. When you caught your touchdown pass, the huddle broke. Trevor Harris then makes an indication at the line, and then he calls out the cadence, snaps the ball. 26 seconds transpire from breaking the huddle to you catching the football in the end zone. Can you tell me about all of the intricacies that go through your mind in 26 seconds?
Yeah, so the first part of that play, we kind of do like a dummy waggle just to get the defense to move and see what kind of coverage we're going to get. And then after that, Trevor makes the adjustment. We communicate it to all the receivers, and then ball's snapped and we're rolling. So like the play he had checked to, we ran it a bunch of times before, so it's like you just know it could be any. There's a number of plays it could have been, but just the key part of it is the communication across the board, everyone on the same page, and usually when everyone's on the same page, that's when good plays happen.
How many things have to change in 26 seconds? Because you could see the offensive line communicating with one another. At one point you turned your head, it looked like, to talk to another receiver. Is that all the communication that is going on in that mere 26 seconds?
Yeah, it's like Trevor communicates it, and instantly it's like telephone. Like you're telling the dude next to you what the play is, making sure we're all on the same page, and so that when the ball's snapped, we're playing fast.
So the fun game, or the fun part of the game telephone, is that you mix the message up and you don't understand at the end.
Yeah.
Clearly that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, it's not like telephone in that way. Like, you definitely don't want to tell them the wrong thing. So it's like a telephone game, but you're actually being told the right message every time.
Tommy Neild. Boy, what a find he's turning out to be. It seems that nothing that the offense was trying wasn't clicking on Saturday for the Riders against the Ticats. But it'll be a whole different ball game. Big play VA is not going to stand around in the pocket. It's not that you can't get to him, but he likes to move, and he likes to throw on the run. He likes those big explosive plays, and it looks like Damian Alford, their first-round draft pick, who had a great game against the Riders in the smoke game a little over a month ago. He should be in the lineup on Saturday, so that's another weapon that the Riders are going to have to contend with. All right, time to take another break. But before we go, SaskTel Pick the Score. You got to get us your first name, your last name, and your prediction for the game on Saturday against the Stamps. You have a chance to win tickets to the Labor Day Classic against the Bombers and a $200 SaskTel gift card. You can get those predictions in now, 306-936-6262. This is the SportsCage on 620 CKRM. Lost earlier today, 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Still first place in the East. If you're looking at the wild card, you got the Jays, you got the Tigers, you got the Houston Astros, and then the Yankees, the Sox, and the Mariners. And it's funny, the Sox for a couple of weeks there were ahead of the Yankees as they were struggling. Giancarlo Stanton in and out of the lineup. You got Aaron Judge in and out of the lineup. Now the Yankees are starting to... The Yanks are 4.5 behind the Jays. The Sox are 5.5 behind the Jays. Your wild cards... Yeah, and you got the Mariners in there. And it's funny chatting with Shan Virgie on the show last week. The one team, if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, you probably don't want to see are the Seattle Mariners, because they're exactly like you. They can play any kind of baseball. Are we scoring 14 runs? Let's score 14 runs. Is it a defensive gem and we're only going to put up 2 and it's a pitching battle? We can do that too. Hey, what do you want? It seems like the Yankees, when they're on, but when they're off, they're really off. That's one of the things that is in these short series, the 5-gamer. That's why home field advantage is so important. Isn't it great to be talking about meaningful Blue Jays baseball with 9 days to go in the month of August, when normally it's next year territory and everyone's just back to ripping the Jays front office? Over in the National League, Brewers, Phillies, Dodgers, the usual suspects, Cubs, Padres, Mets. Reds are the only team knocking on the door. They're the game behind. Padres have been playing some good baseball. Cubs, can you trust them? Yep. Yeah. Jays are off tomorrow. They're in Florida to take on the Miami Marlins. That series will start on Friday. What was this? Oh, and if you're a Jays fan, Ryder Foundation 50/50 this week. Good prize. Nice prize. A Jays weekend in Toronto. Flights to Toronto, 2 nights at a downtown hotel by the Rogers Centre, and 2 tickets to 2 games to watch the Jays. Now, my brother Wayne and his wife Kara, they went to some games earlier this year in the renovated Skydome, and it's really nice, like really nice. It is a baseball fan experience now, where you can go and have a good time. Or if you win and it just doesn't sync up, your schedule, $3,600 cash. Entry deadline is tomorrow at 5. You can buy your tickets online at riders5050.ca. All right, let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. And as promised, he is the director of hockey development at Notre Dame. But if you're a Colorado Avalanche fan and you don't know the backstory that we found out when Wade has been on, he's part of the brain trust that brought Cale Makar to the Avalanche and that thrilling Stanley Cup win a few years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Wade Klippenstein. Wade, how are you? How's your summer been?
Summer's good. The Riders are in first place. The Jays are in the playoffs, and things are good.
I wanted to ask you this because you've been everywhere in hockey. You've been in the Western Hockey League. You've been in the National Hockey League. who's the most famous person in your cell phone contacts?
That's a great question. I see that on social media quite often. Maybe in the hockey world, probably Joe Sakic. I think he's someone that's, anywhere we went with Joe, he was always recognized anywhere in the world, and probably rightfully so, as a great ambassador of the game. So I'd probably, up until this year, Brock Lesnar got into my phone this year. So that's another pretty big name. His sons, their boys are here at Notre Dame. So definitely hockey travels allows you to meet some pretty neat people and see the world at the same time.
Greg from the Piffles podcast a few weeks ago, when we had him on to talk about SummerSlam, because Brock Lesnar was the big surprise guest at the end, he said that he had met Brock at a game at Notre Dame because his son goes there and plays there. And he's just a normal, everyday dad with kids doing his thing. But when he has to, he turns into the beast incarnate when it's WWE time to go and blow up MetLife Stadium in front of 82,000 people. What's he like outside the ring and just being a dad?
Well, he's a hockey dad. He's passionate about his boys and about the sport, and just like any parent, he cares a lot about his kids and their education and their experiences here at Notre Dame. So I think almost all hockey parents have a common ground there. Obviously, he's I'd say a 1%er in his sport and his life, and I think he has pretty high expectations and of his sons and his daughter. He's got a daughter. It's a very elite athlete as well. So a very good sporting family with a lot of passion.
We're chatting with Wade Klippenstein, Director of Hockey Development in Notre Dame, on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. I'm not sure if you saw this social media video today, Wade, but Sam Reinhart has his day with the Stanley Cup yesterday. And I want to ask you about what you did with yours, but Sam's at the gym doing bench press, and he's doing the weight rack run with it. Did you work out with the Stanley Cup, or was it a little more social when you had it when the Avalanche won?
Mine would be quite the opposite. A lot of food and drink. So skipped we skipped the gym that day. Funny story. I was just blessed to get the cup. That year was a really short summer. They still had extended season for COVID. So the cup, I think we had 100 days as a group, and all the players and owners and coaches again. And I think Joe probably had it 3 or 4 times. But I was just lucky that Cale Makar and Logan O'Connor lived where I lived in the Calgary area. So probably 1 or 2 days before I got it, I got a call from the Hockey Hall of Fame, said, hey, by the way, we're in the area. We should be able to get the cup to you. Most likely, we'll run it down there Tuesday morning, but it's got to be back in Calgary on the Bow River with these 2 guys by 5 o'clock. So, of course, you're excited, and you'll just take it for whatever they'll give it. And so I think I had the cup for about 5 hours, and you would have thought we had it for 2 weeks with all the wardrobe changes and all the different things we did with it. But famously, I married a Ukrainian girl, so we had borscht in it. And then at the end of the day, for the kids, we had root beer floats. And that got a lot of traction. If you search social media, you'll see the kids all with a straw each fighting over a spot to drink root beer floats, A&W root beer floats, out of the cup. So that was our special day. But family pictures, everyone in town. We were living in Coaldale, Alberta at the time, and that thing has a lot of power, boy. It brings people together and makes a lot of people happy. It was just a special day, and so lucky that I was even included. I think I was the only scout that year that got it, and very fortunate to get my moment with the cup.
Wade, if to all the Oiler fans that are listening to the Sports Cage right now, you just made them sink a little further. If it's in the seat of the truck or if they're sitting around the kitchen table, because now it stings just a little more that they didn't get it done. Just real quick before we move on, do you think the Panthers have it in them to go 3 in a row with that lineup they have and the coaching staff?
I love their lineup. I love their style of play, just to stay healthy. Like, the cup run takes so much out of you because you play, 60, 80 days longer than some teams or whatever it is, and then just the injuries and the wear and tear. To do it twice is amazing. And, I think we stopped Tampa from doing it 3 times, but it's so hard and there's so many good teams. If they do it, that's amazing. I don't see how that can happen, but again, they've done it twice, and they managed to sign everyone and keep the team together. So until someone beats them, they're the champs.
My favorite off-season picture. It's not anybody with the Stanley Cup, although there's been some great ones. It was Leon Draisaitl's wedding. And this is the Prince Albert, Saskatchewan coming out in him that I really love. It's his wedding. There's a picture of him sitting down, shoes off, lit cigarette in his mouth. He's having a dart. Looks like he's having the time of his life, but he just needs a little break. That made me feel a whole lot closer to Leon Draisaitl. I didn't get married in the south of France, but we've all been that guy at the wedding reception. An elite athlete smoking a cigarette, having a good time.
That Cup's got stories to tell. It's amazing what it sees in the summer. It's such a unbelievable experience, and what a trophy, and just to be part of that for a moment was just a chance of a lifetime.
All right, so Wade, last week I'm on social media, and I follow you guys, and I see this post about, there's this new program you're running when it comes for kids who are goalies. And if I'm a mom or a dad, and I have a son or a daughter who's a goalie, because it's a specialized position, then there's a whole lot that goes into that. And we've seen this before. There's all sorts of hockey schools, but not necessarily a thing. And that's why we wanted to bring you on. This new goalie program that you're running, where did the idea come from? And what is it? If I'm a mom or dad listening and I want my son or daughter to be going to that next level, how I can be part of this?
No, it's a good question, and we have got a lot of interest from that social media post and just the word spreading about our new goalie department. I guess to go back to my days with Colorado, we often struggled with our goaltender evaluations, and just it seemed like every year we were trading for a goalie and using draft picks and assets to get goalies, and even drafting goalies. I think the last goalie that played for us that we actually drafted and developed was like Peter Budaj. And at that time, he was our goalie coach. So that tells you the drought there between drafting goalies and turning them into regular NHL starters. So we got together and led by Craig Billington, developed a goalie department and came up with a strategy on how to evaluate goalies and develop goalies. And at the NHL level, you need almost 10 goalies in your organization to be fully stocked. So here, we went from 9 teams to 11 teams this year, and with that, we have almost 25 goalies on campus. And in the past, we've had one goalie coach or maybe 1.5, and I didn't feel we were giving the service to our goaltenders and their families that we needed to deliver the best we could. So we came up with a goalie department and tried to cover every angle of our goaltending. We have a teacher coach, Travis Harrington, that's going to lead the department, create the schedule, the curriculum, and be the number one contact point with our parents. We have a European goalie coming over in Changi Horvath that's going to give us a little bit of a different look from a European perspective. Tony Girardi, who works with the U of R, she's going to work a lot with our female goaltenders, and Billy Cawthorne, a goalie out of the Saskatoon area that's played some college hockey in the area. He's kind of the younger guy that's going to represent the new age and what all the kids are talking about when it comes to goalie development. So we felt with 4 people, that gives us more diversity in our staff and a better option to cover as much as we can. We've added some goalie sessions to our schedule. We've added a skill session in our skill center for our goaltenders. So the demand is there. To be honest with you, we had a U18 camp this spring, and we had 28 goalies apply to the camp. So we had to have a camp before the camp just to get down to 16 goalies to eventually get down to 4 goalies for those spots. So we just felt it's time, and we're just looking for something that puts us into that spotlight as industry leaders, and we're excited about this new opportunity.
Now, is this just for kids and students that are enrolled at the school? Is this an outside program? So if I'm a mom or dad listening, because you just piqued their curiosity, because if this is exactly what they're looking for, because 4 days in the summer at a camp, that's one thing, but mentorship throughout a hockey season is something completely different.
Yeah, we're very fortunate here where we have our student athletes for almost 10 months. So even in competition and post-competition, our goaltending staff works with the goaltenders. We do have camps in the summer, and a lot of our staff carry over into those summer camps. So, again, having 11 teams and almost 25 goalies, and then our summer camp, our goalie camp fills up in minutes, and I think that's pretty common all over the place. So hopefully just to to be better prepared and again, offer that better level of service for our goaltending families.
Okay. The landscape at Notre Dame is different this year. There is no junior A club. They've moved on to Martinsville. But as you had said, your hockey department's growing. 9 teams. You're going to 11 teams. Is it a little bit of a different attitude this fall as we head into hockey season? Is it is there a breath of fresh air with some of the changes that are being made? Like what's the vibe on campus, as the kids would say?
Yeah, no, we're excited, and we're almost 10 days away from kids coming back to school here, so it's an exciting time of the year. The changing in our programming, we made some significant changes with our coaching staff, added some experienced coaches. Claude Vilgrain, a name I think people are familiar with, that played in the National Hockey League, played for Team Canada for a long time. He's going to join our staff with our U18 prep team, and then Casey O'Brien, a local coach who does a lot of skills work in southern Saskatchewan here, that was assistant coach with Weyburn all the way to their SJHL playoff run last year. So we've made some changes there. One of the biggest changes with our programming is adding that third female team, that U15 AA team. That's a team that's got tremendous interest. We have a goaltender from St. Louis, Missouri, a defenseman from Japan, a forward from Colorado, and kids from all over the prairies. So that team has added a whole new level of excitement to our programming, and bringing back our U18 AA team as well. So I'm sure we'll miss the juniors once the season starts, and you don't see that older presence of the junior hockey player, but it's been replaced with some really good young teams, and we're excited about that.
You've watched a lot of hockey. You've evaluated a lot of athletes over the years. Are the kids at a younger age getting better and better skill-wise than you've ever seen before for all the prep that goes into it now?
Yeah, I think kids their development's hyper-accelerated, and you see it where they're training 12 months of the year and specialty training, and it's obvious that you see it in the skill game. Just the highlights, you get to watch, Regina people get to watch a player like Maddox Schultz, a great young player, and Connor Bedard that came through before that, and Liam Pugh is going to be in the area as well. So you see that youth, you see the excitement, the skill, and just it's competitive. There's a lot of great players, and now the rewards of being a great player young with the options of CHL and NCAA and some of the money that comes with it, it's only going to add to the early development of young hockey players.
Yeah, I wanted to get your take on that, because when you were scouting, like Cale Makar didn't play in the CHL. He played in the AJHL, and then he was in college and ended up in the NHL. So you've seen it from all sides. Now that there's money, because the big thing was, there's no NIL money for hockey players. And I'm like, well, hold on. Given the right hockey player, they'll find a way to get him NIL money. Well, the rule, they found a way to get Gavin McKenna and his family some money, because that's one thing. Because Wade, when you're recruiting, you have a chance at a good education and a chance to further your sports career. But now there's the third option. By the way, there's a chance to have money for you and your family. That's hard to compete against. Where are you coming out on all this? It's year one of this experiment where the Western Hockey League or the CHL, I read about some kid in the OHL yesterday from the Kitchener Rangers. He decided to decommit and he's going to college. Where do you think in year one this is all going to play out with the exodus of talent from the CHL going to the NCAA?
It's a great question that I get asked often, and I'm sure my answer will be better a year from now, like a lot of people's answers. I'm obviously tracking it. I have a nephew that plays in the Western Hockey League, was recently drafted by Minnesota, and he's got a lot of schools that are chasing him now, and just kind of following through his conversations. It's a great time to be a great player. There's so many options now the kids are going to get to enjoy, but there's less kids that are going to get to enjoy some of those options now too. And more American kids will probably come to the CHL. More Canadian kids may leave the CHL early and enjoy an NCAA experience. I played U.S. college hockey, absolutely loved the experience, but I will say it's not going to be for everyone. There'll be kids that go play NCAA hockey and don't like practicing 3 hours a day and playing once or twice a week. And it's not always what you think it is. And same for kids from the U.S. coming to play in the CHL. It might not be what they want. So there will be guys that go and come back both ways. But again, for those great players, that elite player that can get a chance to do both now and maybe even make some money partway through the path, that's pretty exciting for those kids.
The hockey community is small. You know a lot of people. You must feel for Willie Desjardins, not only losing Caden Libstrom, Gavin McKenna, but Ryder Ritchie. You were in the final of the Memorial Cup last spring. You've got a stacked roster and a chance to run it back. You come into training camp here in a couple of weeks, -3 giant pieces. Wade, how do you rebuild a team? Like, what do you do? Like, some of those pieces you just don't replace.
No, you don't, and that cycle changes, and maybe now it's a one-year cycle. I'm not sure if the teams are going to try and find older players to be competitive or just I'm not sure. Like, you look at Kelowna, how are they going to build the Memorial Cup team? And Victoria was a team that took a significant hit, losing 2 high-profile players. But again, teams will find their way. It's competitive. There's lots of good players, and maybe some new markets open up. Maybe you see more European players and more 20-year-olds. I'm not sure what they're going to do for rules, but it's a really interesting time. And just to see how are some of these guys going to do in the NCAA? It's a hard level of hockey. It's not for younger players. It's traditionally some of those top teams are a lot older and heavier. And can a young 17, 18-year-old guy go in there and instantly contribute, or are they going to have to find their way? There's a lot of things that I'm really curious to watch unfold, and we'll see what happens. But I'm sure teams will find their niche in recruiting and build quickly, and then we'll see what happens.
Question number 1 for any of these kids that want to come up here. Have you ever been on a bus trip from Brandon, Manitoba to Victoria, British Columbia? And we're going to drive it straight. We ain't stopping. Can you handle that there and back? Okay, next. You can't, yeah. How about Brandon to Prince George? That's even less sexy. At least Victoria has some nice scenery once you get there. Prince George in January. Wade, would you recommend? Would you give it a 5-star review on Google? Probably not.
Well, part of the Western League development experience is learning how to travel and grinding on the buses. And you're talking to the right guy. I played hockey and coached hockey with Alaska Fairbanks and coached in Prince George and was a head scout for Brandon. So I've seen all the outposts. So, but I know some scouts like that. If a kid can handle that and can thrive in that scenario, then there's good days ahead for that player.
There's grit. Wade, we always enjoy these conversations. We love the stories. The borscht in the Stanley Cup is a story. Maybe that's a small Netflix show if we get the right people involved. It may have a very narrow target audience of Sasky, but I think it could be huge and pull big numbers. Let us know if we need, who would play you in the movie if we had to start casting this right now. The borscht-filled Stanley Cup.
That's a tough question. I just went and watched the F1 movie with my wife. That wasn't a good idea. So that's definitely not my that's not my match. No, there's someone out there. I'm not a Hollywood guy. So
okay.
I'm just hockey guy.
We'll look somewhere on the indie scene. It's Wade Klippenstein, the Director of Hockey Development at Notre Dame on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Oh, that's good. Could you imagine that? Borscht in the Stanley Cup. Wow. It's probably like, Ted, is there anything more Sasky than that? I don't know that there is. All right, time to take our final break on the show. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up. Still a chance to play Pick the Score. We'll give you the details if you're new to this, how you can win tickets to the Labor Day Classic. We'll do that next. It's the SportsCage on 620 CKRM. Jays lose this afternoon 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're off tomorrow. We'll start a series with the Miami Marlins on Friday. They're still 4.5 up on the Yankees, 5.5 up on the Boston Red Sox. 2025 Men's National Baseball Championships get rolling tonight. Opening ceremonies at Curry Field start at 7, then the Home Run Derby at 7:30. SportsCage live tomorrow and Friday from Curry. Come down, watch some ball, grab a cold one, pull up, maybe get you on the cage, chat. Listen, I mean, if you're Gary Brotzel, you're probably, from the Regina Red Sox, you're probably signing autographs for the next few days if you're hanging around Curry because you just won the WCBL championship. Tonight, there's Canada West football preseason action. The UBC Thunderbirds take on the Saskatchewan Huskies. Kickoff 7 o'clock in Saskatoon at Griffith Stadium. Tomorrow night, The University of Regina Rams will be in Manitoba to take on the Bisons, preseason game there. Get rolling. I think it's 5 o'clock our time kickoff. And a lot of pats on the back and kudos all around. The city of Regina broke ground yesterday on the new $300 million aquatic facility at the Sportsplex behind the Lawson Aquatic Center. Besides Olympic-sized lane swimming pools, probably going to have an awesome hot tub and a good lazy river for me and the kids. That's your sports ticker. It's brought to you by Steelcraft Doors. Lot of text to get to. A lot of people, Colson, want to play Pick the Score. But as I mentioned at the start of the show, we've been working behind the scenes Pilsner Cup. I don't know if you know this, but I think I've named you on this Pilsner Cup planning committee. You're like vice president of like planning and logistics. So you need to know some of these things. So I found us a theme song.
Okay.
It is very apropos of Pilsner, Rider fans. You know, you live the life. Oasis had a banger back in the 90s, and they're on tour again, so they're really relevant. They're going to be playing in the Rose Bowl on September the 6th. This song, so we've got it queued up ready. It's called Cigarettes and Alcohol. Listen to this groove. This is our theme song. Fire away. Do you love that? Nice.
Very 90s rock.
Turn that back up again. Let's a little bit back to the other thing. They're doing the posnum, as it's called. I explained this on Monday. So apparently, they do this in English soccer. You turn around and you don't face the field. So for this song, if you're watching the stream in this video, everybody is turned away from the stage, and like Liam and Noel tell you to do that. So that's our theme song, Cigarettes and Alcohol. We got that taken care of. We're working on national anthem and halftime entertainment. But I got a good idea. Sasky through and through. Probably coming under budget, maybe. Maybe we pay nobody to be part of this. You get paid in Pilsner. There are no giant checks being written out of an account that we don't have yet. It's probably going to go into overdraft. Next thing you know, Barney's kids won't get to play minor hockey because he's funding this thing out of pocket. Maybe he has to cancel one of his 4 golf memberships just to get this thing off the ground for year 1. I don't know.
Things seem to be rolling. I don't remember this in the minutes from our last meeting, but all right.
Sastel picked the score. Mike McSqueen says Riders 38, Stamps 27. I think a lot of people think this is going to be a bit of a shootout Saturday at McMahon. Let's see.
Yeah, but a lot of people were picking that for the Riders and Hamilton game too.
Dean Riders 28-25. Bev, thanks for the text, Bev. 28-19 Riders. Is anybody picking the Stamps? Ava, if you're a first-time texter, we love you. That means we're getting through. Whether it's the bribe of the free Labor Day tickets, the $200 Sastel gift cards, or lastly, it's the content we're providing. Mm-hmm. Ava, 27-17, Riders over Stamps. Let's see. Marie, thanks. 36-33, Ken and Marie Campbell.
That's my aunt and uncle, actually.
Okay, well, you're part of Colson's family. You're disqualified. Yeah. You can't win. We don't want to be accused of plagiarism.
Pat Masick actually said 20 for the Stamps, 17 for the Riders. So there are a few picking Calgary. And Raymond Bast out in Quappel Sask said Calgary 24, Riders 17. So there's a few picking Calgary.
You don't have to. I mean, it helps, but you don't have to. If you feel it in your gut that the Riders, during the smoke game on that weird Saturday, the Stamps, whatever they did, had it dialed up that they had some answers, or they posed some questions. We didn't have the answers. Sastel picked the score. Last couple minutes, this is last call. Tickets to the Labor Day Classic against the Bombers. It's sold out. Oh, by the way, the Riders put standing room tickets on sale earlier this afternoon. $36 plus tax for the Labor Day Classic for standing room. And you also have a chance to win a $200 Sastel gift card. Pick the score, 306-936-6262. Thanks to everybody that's been part of the show today. Jay McNeil, Wade Klippenstein, voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas. You can catch it all in podcast form at sportscage.com on demand on your schedule. That's the Sports Cage for this Wednesday. Maz here. Barney back in tomorrow. Have a good night.